Hello and welcome to the Basildon Council's official podcast. You are joined by me, Ryan, your host today, and joining us is Councillor Henry, Cabinet Member for Health, Wellbeing, Leisure, Arts and Culture.
Good morning.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Is it afternoon?
It is afternoon. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
I'm good. This is strange, but I'm good.
Yeah, so we mentioned before you've never done a podcast before.
Never.
I think that's going to be a common answer for the majority of the councillors that I will do this with.
I think so.
Not many people have done it.
No.
How do you feel?
All right.
Yeah?
All right.
Excellent. So this is another way that we can sort of maybe speak to our residents and try and get some information across and, you know, just a newer way of doing things.
Okay.
And what we would love to be able to do is take the opportunity now to sort of try and get to know you a bit more. So, you know, for a lot of our councillors, they may have seen you in a lot of our social media posts and whatnot, but they might be just seeing Councillor Henry, and that's maybe what they think your first name is, but it's not, is it? I'm going to assume you do have a first name.
I do, and I get lots of emails or text messages just saying, "Hello, Henry, it's blah, blah, blah." So everybody thinks that I've got two first names, and they quite often call me by the wrong one. So my name is Jeff, and I've been a Londoner for 38 years, originally from an army family from Northern Ireland. So we settled here in the mid-80s, and I've been within about half a mile of where I live now for the last 38 years. So very much consider myself a Londoner.
And so, having lived around the borough for so long, what attracted you to join local politics and get involved in local government?
I've always voted, always. I think it's something that you have to do. But I am from Northern Ireland, so the reality is I'm not remotely interested in politics. But somehow I just, like a lot of people, got roped into it, and here I am. A while later, I'm a councillor. So it's strange for me. Nobody I know would have ever thought that I would have even run for office, never mind sit in office.
And how long have you been within Basildon Council?
Basildon Council 5.5 years, but I was elected to Essex the year before that, so 6.5 years as a councillor. So I'm Essex County Councillor for Langdon Park and Freelands, and Basildon Borough Councillor for Langdon Park Ward. And
in your time being a councillor within Basildon, in particular, Basildon Council, has there been anything that you're proud of that's happened over the last few years that you're part of that you think, do you know what, we absolutely nailed that?
Loads and loads and loads of things. There's loads of things that you do, and there's loads of frustrations too. But I think, there are some moments, things that they might not have reached the widest audience, but things, historic things that wouldn't normally happen in a town like Basildon, such as the National Gallery bringing a Constable painting and plonking it in a shop right in the middle of Basildon Town Centre for the 1,076 residents that engaged with us and came and had a look at it and really availed themselves of the services of the National Gallery's team, and really just talked about it and what it meant to them. Some people, were a little blasé about it. I was outside generating some interest in it, and a guy went that way into town and said, "No, not my thing at all," but still came in on the way back to the car and spent about 20 minutes in there chatting with Grace from the National Gallery. So those elements like that are really, really great. Meeting lots and lots of different people that have a real pride and a real interest in the local area, that's good too. So being able to work with people and empower them to do for themselves and then get the hell out of their way and let them get on with it, that's always good. So we've got loads and loads of voluntary groups, loads and loads of friends off groups across the borough that do a fantastic job day in, day out. They're local people, they care about their local area, they care about a particular cause. So whether it be the Basildon Activity Awards or whether these be friends off groups or just charity volunteers, it's really, really great to get out and meet them, see the work that they're doing, hear how passionate they are. Many of them have skin in the game. This is lived experience for them. So it's a good validation for them that people are taking them seriously, that people are listening to them. And where we can, money's always tight, but where we can, finding little pots of money that we can dip into to help people along the way and maybe become a group. Lots of people, they're just a couple of friends doing a litter pick, and suddenly, evolve a conversation. Suddenly they're a constituted group. They're doing something, and it's actually a little bit more meaningful than just going out with a bin bag and a litter picker. So, yeah, things like that. Things like that are really, really good.
Oh, that's great. Well, speaking of being active, we have some new things happening around the borough. So we've mentioned on previous shows where things that are happening, we give you guys the opportunity to tell us exactly what they are and how that affects us and things like such. And we've got new play areas coming around the borough. I wondered if you could sort of talk to us more about that and what we expect to see coming up and how that affects us.
Well, we've got 143 play areas in the borough. 143. That's a huge amount. It's fewer than we used to have, but it's still a huge amount. And they range from a swing and a climbing frame, between two blocks of houses, to great big country parks like Wat Tyler. And they're just really, really, really amazing little spaces. And for some families, they're the difference. They're the, if you've got a child that's acting out, or a child that's got behavioural issues, that can be the bargaining chip to get to school in peace. That little swing for 5 minutes or on the way to the shops. So it's really, really important that we invest in them and that we protect them. But obviously it's a slow poke. There's 143. You can't be 143 places at once. Suppliers wouldn't be able to give us 143 play areas in one go. So that's a 10-year plan. We're out in the middle of year 3 at the moment, with I think 13 on for delivery this year. So some have already been procured and those are being ordered. They'll be online this side of Christmas, with the balance of that between Christmas and probably April.
Mm-hmm. So we've got 13 play areas coming.
Yeah,
to look
13 play areas this year.
This year.
So we've already delivered 2 years worth of those, and you can see some of the results of those in larger places like Wat Tyler Country Park, Lake Meadows, Northlands have all had that real significant investment. And then some of our smaller places as well. So we've got some little estate play areas that are equally important to residents because they're local. Not everybody can get to our big parks, and not everybody necessarily would want to. So, if you're nan and granddad and you live down the street and your grandkids are coming, you might want to, walk to the shop, and you might want to use the swing at the end of the street, but you might not necessarily want to go all the way over to the other side of the town to do that. So there's lots and lots of really, really, really great work going on in there. And what's the most important aspect of this is that actually the community are telling us what we want. There's no point, I'm a 51-year-old childless male, there's no point asking me what's good about a play area. Couldn't tell you. It's 40 years since I was on one as a participant of a play area. But what is important is that we tap into that knowledge of what kids want. And the best way that we do that, we go out to primary schools and consult with local primary school groups and faculties to determine what's a good play area, what's not. Many people in the borough that are my age or even younger will remember the de facto prototype of a Basildon play area was always something shaped like a snail. So it was like a climbing frame, and 2 swings, and that was pretty much it for most of the estate ones. Now children want different things, so we've got lots of tactile spaces. There's mirrors and shapes and colours and a variety of things. But it's not just about being bright and about being really, really, really glaring and in your face either. It is also about having an awareness of those people who are normally excluded in some play areas. So, having proper conversations with local parents of maybe neurodiverse or disabled children to find out actually what's your lived experience of trying to take your child to a park and enjoy a normal, regular, everyday, typical playground experience. And that can be a different conversation, a really useful one, because it actually teaches you things that you just never even considered, such as neurodivergence. Why would you want bright primary colours that actually might be a little bit of an assault on the vision? So you tone those down to slightly more autumnal colours and things like that. I would say this, we've got some really, really great and engaged parents of disabled and neurodiverse children. And I would say this, they have been invaluable in terms of that. I know that their passion as parents and our desire as an authority to make everything as inclusive as we possibly can far outweighs the supplier's ability to provide us with the equipment that we want. And unfortunately, some of the designs that provide inclusive play can quite often be exclusive. So, for example, there's a swing for wheelchair at Wat Tyler Park, and it would be hard to see how anybody else would enjoy that swing that they weren't in a wheelchair. But yet we've moved on from that, and at Lake Meadows we have a seesaw that you can enjoy on one wheelchair on either side, or people standing, a multitude of either one or multiples of several people on either side. So it's trying to be fair to everyone. We can't do everything everywhere. We can't. I think if we were to spend the type of money, would be significantly reducing the play areas, and that wouldn't be right either. That wouldn't be right either. But it is absolutely right that parents and families of neurodivergent children and disabled children are in the conversation and feeding into that, and we're certainly listening to them and the other organisations such as BOSP and others in the borough and the surrounding area.
Well, that perfectly covers what question I was going to ask, was how inclusive can some of these play areas be? I wondered whether it would be an opportunity to now say, like you say, we've got over 100 or so play areas and parks within our borough that we can attend. How important are those to sort of maybe mental health, physical health? Like, for some of us maybe that don't use them, what sort of benefits do we get from attending and being in these places?
Well, there's a social aspect to it. So it isn't just that it's about promoting active behaviour, promoting outdoor behaviour, getting fresh air and play, but there's a social aspect to that too. And certainly if you go to some of our bigger parks where larger groups of people go, you will see in Lake Meadows the nan and granddad who are running childcare duties on a Friday morning, and you'll see them talking to the other nan and granddad, or the mums and dads, or the aunts and uncles that are also there with their youngsters. So you'll see there's a real social interaction. Kids love to play with each other. You see a child prior to school, they maybe know 3 or 4 people. They go into school and suddenly they've got 20 friends in the same class, in preschool or reception or whatever. So there's a real social development aspect to that, something that we actually missed when we were in lockdown for so long. We saw that impact children's development and their learning and their interactions. So it's very, very important that we promote outside spaces and using them.
If we could maybe sort of stay within parks, there's a lot of green stuff, but maybe we could talk a bit more about sort of biodiversity and what sort of things we might sort of see when it comes to biodiversity around those areas that we've got.
Well, biodiversity is really, really important in terms of promoting pollination and other things. I mean, actually, we've got a really, really great range of open spaces and nature parks. So it's not just play equipment and slides and swings and roundabouts and seesaws. It is open spaces, playing fields. It's all around me. You've got Lake Meadows, Northlands behind you, you've got Mill Meadows. So it is about making use of that open space and protecting those, but actually doing something with them. So they can't all be like a beautiful bowling lawn. They can't. First of all, it's impractical, and second of all, it's not particularly good for the soil. It's not particularly good for the area. So we've got a raft of different things that we do. We've got the creation of new nature zones. So we have Winifred Road that is now Legacy Park. We've also got Cranes Lane, which was, I don't even want to think about how many tons of rubbish we pulled out of this ditch beside a roundabout at a tractor plant. But it's a great area. And, is it fully formed? No, it's not. But nature takes time. Nature does its own thing. It knows what it's doing. So, we've also put a lot of work into St Nicholas Church area. So we've done a lot of clearing through there. We've put paths in there, which have made a huge difference to people's ability to get to and from primary schools. It's made a huge difference to, just the cleanliness and how people see the area too. And then, of course, we have other more specialist sites. We have country parks like Wat Tyler. We've got Mill Meadows. We've got SSI parks, which are scientifically protected parks because they have particular flora and fauna that we wouldn't see generally elsewhere. So we're very, very careful how we manage those parks. So whether that we progress through the winter with Cheviot goats on Wat Tyler Park, demonstrating a real bad attitude problem, or whether we have red poll cattle on Mill Meadows helping us to manage the park and keep that grass and those hedgerows and things down. So there's a lot of things that we can do, and we put a lot of work into the creation of these zones and really, really trying to think about what we can do to protect and enhance the actual value of the land. So it isn't just about keeping it cut and keeping it beautiful. I know that's a touchy subject sometimes. It can be, well, I don't like this or I don't like that, but actually what we're doing is we're promoting pollination. And if you consider that 97% of flower meadows have disappeared since the 1930s, that's a colossal change to habitat, and we need to reverse that. We need to do everything we can. And this isn't about environment. This is about nature. This is just about birds and bees and bugs and slugs and all those sorts of things that need sometimes, in a very, very busy, big populated town like this, you need a little bit of help. And they need somebody to make an intervention and then let it get on with it.
And sort of seeing all that biodiversity within our parks is maybe a really good learning opportunity as well, to get to know some of the local fauna that we have.
Absolutely. And it's also a way of having a look at maybe some of the mistakes that places like a new town would make. So it's lovely to live on a 70-year-old street that's tree-lined, but half those trees now have had your hedge up, or had your fence or your wall up, or they've broken through a drain because not enough care and practice was taken into the species of trees and its growing habits, its root systems. So we're seeing protracted, long, dry summers where the trees are pulling all of that moisture out of the earth, and then you're seeing shrinkage on roads and cracks in pavements and cracks in walls and things like that. So it is about really having a proper think about what needs to you put something in the ground. It's not about what it looks like now. That's lovely, tick a box, great. But actually what's it going to look like in 30 years, in 40 years when it's matured? And it's then about taking the residents on a journey with you as well. And we've got a lot of friends off groups and nature groups that really do care about this stuff, really are very passionate about this stuff in all of our parks across the borough. And they really do work with us to help us manage these sites. And without them, I don't think we could do it. I think it would be a very, very different place. But if you look at places like the Whitford Memorial Park, the group there, the work they're doing, and the extension, the 26-acre extension to that park, just colossal. But then thinking about the species of trees and planting more traditional local trees as well, and just taking a different approach. We can't just go out and buy 10,000 trees and plonk them in the ground. Best thing to do is go and pick a variety of species that will actually, contribute and complement the area, and something, that we just need to increase a little bit.
In staying in the active area, residents may be aware, if they've seen our social media presence and whatnot, Find Your Active.
Find Your Active.
And I wondered if you could talk to us a little bit more, if people haven't heard of it or are unaware of it, what is Find Your Active?
Well, Find Your Active is not about body shaming, and there's a lot of things that it's not about. And one of the things that it is about is it's about you finding your active, what works for you. It's a far healthier approach. What our approach is, that what we want to do is we want to keep people fit and healthy. That doesn't mean that you need to be in the gym 5 days a week. It doesn't mean that you need to be doing 10,000 steps a day. We don't care whether you walk or crawl on your belly. The important thing is that you do something to improve your active environment, and that you actually get out, you get some fresh air, whether it's a short walk or a run or cycling or whatever. And there's all sorts of ways that we can help with that. We've got a vastly improved open spaces. We've got great leisure facilities. Swimming, we have another swimming pool opening in Pitsea in a couple of months' time. In November, I believe we're going to be opening that. So finding what works for you, but staying active and staying healthy.
And how might one sort of find their active? Is there any way that, if this is not something that you're used to, if I'm not a particularly active person and I don't really know maybe what is out there, is there a way that, is there somewhere that we can go where we can see maybe a list of things that would be like, oh, maybe I'll try that?
Any of our websites, our council websites, will link you through to some of the Find Your Active stuff. Sporting Village have a great range of things. There's also many of our community centres have things that are maybe a little more gentler. So everything from chair aerobics to yoga to bowls to darts to whatever it is, about getting you socialising and getting you moving and keeping you moving. We saw through the pandemic, the biggest impact was on those who didn't do very much to begin with, those who didn't have a particularly active life. If you're a family of 4 living in the one house, that family of 4 can go out for a half-hour walk. If you're living on your own and your community centre's closed or your sports centre's closed and that might have been the only thing you do, you're cut off. So it's important to get out and do stuff and socialise and mix with people and find people just like you. Find people just like you who are maybe not as fit as you could be, or not as fit as perhaps your doctor would like you to be. This isn't body shaming, this isn't fitness shaming. It is about you doing you, but you doing you in your very best self and being as active as you possibly can. Where I would have run in my teens, loved to run. Now I'm more of a walker, half and a puff, but I'm more of a walker, and that's me doing me.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for your time. I really do appreciate it. I know you're a very busy person. Thank you, everyone who's watched and listened. We appreciate you joining us. If you do have any questions that you'd like to send in to us that we can maybe put forward to councillors or any other thing that we do, please do send them through to us. And thank you very much for watching and listening. We will see you on the next one. Thank you.
Thank you.